Good morning, everyone. Today is March 24th, and we are doing the weekly update for Captain Stardust. This week we had 18 commits from 2 different contributors, which brings our lifetime commits to 79 from 4 lifetime contributors, and we just finished week 3 of 21. This week we saw Neil come in and fix a bug when you move files to different folders. I came in and added a couple of enemies, so those have health above their head and they do damage to the player. One of them is a ground unit that follows the player. The other is a sentry, or like a flying unit, that if it's far away from the player, it does nothing. If it's in like a mid-range to the player, it will follow the player and shoot at the player. And then if it's at short range, it will stop approaching the player and just fire. And then I also added the model and a rotating animation for it. On the player side, I added a block animation state, as well as the functionality that you won't take damage if you are blocking. And then also added a focus mode, or like a target mode, so that way if you're near an enemy, you can focus on it, and then with your energy orb, you can now fire a homing missile at whichever enemy you're targeting. For the world side, I added a car, a taxi, and a police car, along with a couple different textures. And then for quality of life, I added a couple of cheats for spawning enemies and to move faster. So let's jump on over to the game here. These are the cars that we are working with. They're super low poly, and they're just meant to be adding some life to the scenery. We have our sentry unit, maybe if I can get any closer. If not, then I will see them in the game. There we go. There's our sentry unit. We have a little particle system underneath it to indicate that it is being targeted. It turns off if it is not targeted. This little propeller on the top of it will spin to indicate that it is a flying enemy. We also have our ground enemy, which doesn't have a any model on it right now. It's just used as a placeholder. Both of these have health bars over their heads. They both have colliders. So yeah, I think we can jump into the game. So all of these cars have the ability to be picked up. So this is their relative size to the player. And you can press the E key and you can pick them up and put them on top of your head. And then you can go push them around, drop them, pick them up again. You can fly with them. You can do a whole bunch of things. So that's kind of neat. They don't have a ton of weight right now, but they will block enemy bullets. So that's kind of neat. Speaking of, let's go and see our little sentry friend. So right now, at a far distance, he's not doing anything. But if we get a little bit closer, then he'll start to follow, and he'll start to fire at the player. And if I stay put, I'll start to take damage. If I press the B key, then I have the block animation going. You can no longer move if you have the block animation going. And let's see if I can... Nope, it killed me, so that's okay. There we go. So we'll get out of the range here. We can also fire at the enemy, and it will take damage. If it takes damage, it will yield some shrapnel, and it will die, and it will drop either a health or a stamina pickup. And we can also press the 8 key to spawn a flying enemy, or a regular enemy, and the 9 key to spawn a little sentry unit, like that. So let's get out of the way over here. And let's do our focus mode. So if we're within range of an enemy, we can press the F key, and it will try to fire a orb to see if you are looking at an enemy, and if you do, then it will put you in focus mode. So that pulls the camera a little bit closer, as well as puts the little circle beneath it. So I'm trying to fly away at the moment, so that way it stops following me, so then I can show you what the homing missile looks like. Get a little bit further away. I guess now would be a good time to use the cheat. There we go. So cheat, we can move much faster and farther away, but we're still focused. So once you're focused, then it stays out of range. So let's see here. There's our energy orb, so we can fire that, and it will home right into the enemy, and once you're done focused on it, then it will stop focusing. So once you kill it, it will go away. And then this is our speed for walking, and this is our speed for flying. It is crazy fast, but if you need to cover the map, you can do that. So those are our in-game updates. So we're no longer using Trello, we're now using Vikunja, I think that's how you pronounce it, but everything still looks the same as compared to the Trello board, everything ported over well. If you're needing instructions on how to play the game, we have this controller layout, which indicates what each key does. So this week, we just wrapped up, or we're wrapping up the weekly video. Next week, we're going to try to get our first test build. This is also Easter, so I may be out of town towards the weekend. We're going to try to wrap up the enemy that we didn't get to this week. We're going to try to create a human for a low poly animation, as well as create like a little mugger, so that way the player can have somebody that commits crime in the town. We're going to have a couple of collectibles, which shouldn't be too difficult, and then we should wrap up the mini-map and fast travel. So that is for this upcoming week. Looking ahead one more week, we have a ton of art that still needs to get done. So if you're feeling artistically inclined, there's lots of opportunity for cars and for the city and for the world in general. So that is our weekly update for Captain Stardust.